following announcement has been paid for by the WZWA Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review here. Winter is coming. I'm one of your hosts, Karlifornia in Fury. This is my co-host here, Jooseyboy. What's going on, bro?
Oh, winter is coming. Oh, I don't know why I did that. Fucking, interesting show. Let's chop it up, my friend.
Yeah, dude. For those out there, don't call it a comeback. This review show will not be still happening weekly. We will just be doing certain specials going forward. Felt like it was important to do this one. Winter is coming after last year's show was apparently such a big one with Sting's debut. And, for those playing at home, November 13th was Full Gear. 33 days we have been without AEW in our life, DJ. How's it felt?
Fucking phenomenal, man. Like, honestly, it really has just felt amazing. It's a product that clearly has a world of potential. I don't think we've ever denied that. But at this point in time, it still isn't quite reaching that potential on a consistent enough basis yet for us to want to keep watching. But once again, we return after a month hiatus from reviewing Dynamite for this Winter is Coming special, bro. And I think I can speak for us both and say the number one takeaway from this episode was the same people are still shining bright on this show. And the same people are still also the same ones dragging it down in other places. So, yeah, let's get into the episode, though, my friend.
Yeah, bro, I think it's been a nice palate cleanser to not be watching every single week.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, of course, the potential has always been there. Let's get into it. We opened the show with the big match that has been advertised for a few weeks now. Everyone's been excited to see this one. It's Bryan Danielson, the American Dragon, taking on Hangman Page for the AEW World Championship. They opened the show with this, bro, and I think that they did that because if they started this main event 55 minutes in, then it's already given away that this is going to go a full hour. So I understand why it opened the show. So I'm not going to rag on them about that, but I'm going to let you take this one, bro, to start us off. Hangman Page, Bryan Danielson for the championship.
I mean, it's what you'd expect out of a major big fight title match from these two. Interesting decision to make Adam Page's first title defense against Bryan Danielson because you know that Adam Page, Jim Cornette said it on his podcast. Yeah, that's right. I'm about to parrot something Mr. Cornette says. Send your hate tweets at Jooseyboy. I need more fucking followers anyway. He said on his podcast last week going into this match that if Adam Page was to lose a match, especially if he was to lose the title at this point, that it would make him as a character look worse than if he had never won the AEW title in the first place. I find myself agreeing with that. Bryan Danielson probably due for a loss anyway at this point in time. 13 wins, 0 losses, 1 draw. So that's fine. There's no problem with Adam Page retaining over Daniel Bryan at all. The issue is, like we always say, man, those 3 syllables, it's a foregone conclusion, bro. Four syllables. I'm a fucking idiot.
3 letters, bro.
Yeah, 3 letters. That's right. That's right. The FGC. Despite that, though, this was one of the most excellently paced, long-form title matches I've seen in a long time. The last major match with pacing that was on par with what we saw here would have been John Cena versus Roman Reigns at the, I believe it was SummerSlam, yes. So this is the, only the second match I've seen in a very long time, in all that time, that I felt had that big fight feel and paced it well enough to justify it going for quite some time. This ended up going to a 60-minute Broadway. It is the longest match time in AEW history so far. They spent a lot of time establishing which part of the body they were each going to work on. Bryan Danielson worked on the torso area of Adam Page, the chest, for a lot of this. He only deviated from that game plan at times to exploit the cut that he opened up on Adam Page's head. I liked that. It felt like something that a real athlete would do in a real fight. Adam Page, of course, the valiant, heroic champion in his first title defense, also his first major test, really being walked over the coals here by Bryan Danielson. I thought this match was incredible. I ended up, even though I could see it coming and it was a foregone conclusion by the end of it, I enjoyed the fact that they made this a draw, like a big time limit draw. It's the perfect way to begin Adam Page's title reign because it immediately makes him one of two competitors in this historic match that's going to be remembered in years to come. And I'd say the biggest plus for this match was that you've got an hour-long Broadway draw here that I could see myself going back and watching it in a couple of years' time if I'm really in the mood for a good, physical, hard-hitting title match, when I'm looking for a match to watch. That's a huge compliment because there's so little wrestling these days, bro, that has inherent rewatchability in it for me. I don't know if you'd feel the same about it, but it definitely has rewatchability for me. A couple of years' time, I could see myself chucking it on. I'm going to give this match an A-. I thought it was really well done. It's definitely not something I want to see them make a habit out of, doing these big 60-minute matches, whether it's a win or a draw result. But I like it here and there. I really enjoyed this as sort of a cornerstone matchup in the history of AEW. I think in the future, that's how this is going to be seen going forward.
Yeah, very astute observation there, bro. I liked the nice slow build myself. I really enjoyed Hangman's pop-up sit-out powerbomb. That was the first thing in the match that got me. I also saw that sick bump onto the apron, which was great. When they went to commercial break, I wasn't too big on suspending the match for medical attention. I know that it's commercial break, and I understand that, but for me, I just felt like, geez, why give him so much time to recover, and why not have the referee count him out? If he can't continue, if this were real, then, if he can't continue immediately, then the match should be over. And yes, I am aware that there is a bird out here that won't stop fucking chirping. I'm sorry. I enjoyed Bryan Danielson's viciousness in the match. I was invested in that. As soon as it got to the 30-minute mark, I knew, okay, they're going 60. They're going 60, and I'm sure this will be a draw. I just couldn't see them having Hangman beat Danielson at this point, but I think it would have been good for Hangman to pick up the victory here. But I guess, it leads to the potential rematch, which I hope doesn't go 90 minutes. Yes, longest match in AEW history. I didn't think that the risk of him jumping off the top rope to the outside and going through that table, I didn't think the risk at that point in the match was necessary because it didn't seem realistic that would be something anyone would do. No one would jump off the top rope like that when the table's right there, unless Danielson was on the table. So yeah. I kind of felt like that was an unnecessary thing, but it's still a phenomenal moment to put in the highlight reel of the match, I suppose.
Yeah.
The most impressive thing, I think, was when Danielson threw Hangman from the top rope from behind and Hangman backflipped onto his feet. I think that was quite impressive.
Excellent.
Getting towards the end of the match there, I think maybe we could have had a few more near falls. But that's okay. It's not the end of the world. What they did do was good, but I think we could have had a few more moments. Yeah. But time limit expires just after the buckshot lariat, and it looked like Hangman had it, but we'll never know. So it's nice. I don't know if the fans were too happy, but, I don't think that they cared who won this match either way, because I think that they just wanted to have a good wrestling match. Let's move forward from there, bro. Backstage, the Bucks, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish. Good to see Fish is doing something. He's involved in something. So he's not just been relegated to Dark or Elevation. So that's cool. But they're feuding with the best friends. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, who cares? Who cares? We know who's – this is like them feuding with the Dark Order. Like, we know who's going over at the end of this. We know what the point of this is just to keep them busy for a little while, keep them on TV. Isn't it funny how they get to constantly keep doing things, yet Brian Cage is fucking on the bench right now doing fuck all? You know,
I don't understand why.
There's people that aren't really being utilized very much. Big Show, etc. Like they got a whole heap of guys there that just aren't being utilized yet. QT, these guys always get to have QT. They always get to have a story. They always get to have something that's going on. So it's a feud that I'm not interested in. Definitely not going to be watching Rampage.
No.
There's going to be an 8-man tag on Rampage. And that's I'll get to it later, but the music in the background was stupid. I didn't find it funny. I didn't find it witty. And I just thought to myself, what are you doing, Adam Cole? You left NXT as one of the top guys to come over here to be doing this. It's not really nothing of importance, bro.
To be fair to him, Bruce Pritchard did suggest to Adam Cole that he should go to the main roster as Keith Lee's manager. That's what his big suggestion was for Adam Cole going to the main roster.
Fuck Bruce Pritchard, man.
So, I can't blame him. But you know what, man? I'm going to say this.
Oh, sorry. The last point I wanted to say was this was a waste of time, but continue.
Yeah. Too right, man. Very astute. It's good that you squeezed that in there because this was a huge waste of time. The match that they're telegraphing is a huge FGC foregone conclusion. I agree with you. It's nice that Bobby Fish is hanging around with somebody. He's involved in something. But you know what, man? I just couldn't help but feel like Bobby Fish and Adam Cole, they've come in. Now they just look like the Young Bucks lackeys, you know? They just look like sidekicks or equal parts of a whole rather than being like their own individual characters. And I just think that's a big mistake, especially where Adam Cole is concerned. Bobby Fish, I'm just glad that he has a spot on TV. I felt like he went underappreciated during the prime years of his career for what he could do. And I really feel like I'm glad he's on TV and doing something I don't mind as much. But in the case of Adam Cole, you've taken this guy, like you just said, Carl, that was one of the top guys in NXT, and they've basically relegated him to this sidekick position. I think that's bullshit. I don't even have anything to say about the promo. I'm giving it an F. It was fucking shit. And I also want to echo as my final point, bro. I agree with you. The best friends, it's nothing against any of them as performers, but I just don't give a shit, man. I can't give a shit.
Well, they've never been put in a position where we should give a shit. Like, Orange Cassidy gets things here and there, storylines here and there with HFO and all that shit. I don't even know if that storyline's over. It must be. But where's Matt Hardy, bro? At this point, right now, with Adam Cole, I'd have him deep in a blood feud with Christian Cage. That would be phenomenal. Not Christian just being the fucking side lackey for the fucking Jurassic Express. Cole and Cage in a fucking feud that goes for several months.
Too right, man. Too right.
With some real viciousness from Adam Cole. Get him over as a heel. And,
Perfect,
so it's...
Man.
Fuck,
like
man.
Some people that disagree with our analysis of AEW, and I'm not picking on people that like AEW. That's fine if you're into it. I'm glad if people watched it and are really into it. But some people may be sitting out there and going, well, I don't know if Carl and Jooseyboy would actually do a better job. In my opinion, just like Carl said, I think Adam Cole and Christian should have been in a blood feud, which is reaching a crescendo by this point. And it should have been going the entire time from when Adam Cole arrived in the company. But instead, both guys, even though they're the most superior performers out of their respective groups, have been relegated to sidekick roles in this overall feud. If there even is a feud, which I don't even think there is. And it's exactly the same thing that they've fucking done with Brian Pillman Jr. as well, making kind of Griff Garrison be the focus of that team when Brian Pillman Jr. is clearly the star, but we'll get to that later. So,
Yeah, man. It's like, didn't Christian fucking crush Cole's head with a fucking chair, like, I don't know, like a month and a half ago? You know, and Jungle Boy had his big moment at Full Gear where he finally got the pin on one of the Young Bucks or whatever after that fucking, you know, dumpster fire of a fucking match up there. You know, I just don't understand why Christian, who was just against fucking Kenny Omega, as you know, the dueling champions, Impact and AEW World Champion, feuding with one each other to headline All Out, and how he goes from that to just being like, you know, sidekick for fucking Jungle Boy and not doing anything else. Like what he was doing with Impact when we watched Bound for Glory, I was way more interested in that. Anyway, let's move forward, man. Wardlow and Matt Sydal, we knew the foregone conclusion. We knew who was winning this one. We knew going into this what was going to happen. It was going to be several power bombs. It was going to be a squash. That's okay. Need a little palate cleanser after an hour-long match. That's okay. They're continuing the story with Wardlow and MJF, which was still kind of been going on through the last, you know, 20 weeks or so of television. Shawn Spears got to the mic, you know, telling him, you know, one powerbomb was enough. We don't get paid by the hour. And then telling him that we had to go get champagne for MJF, which is, I guess, planting more seeds for that feud as it eventually happens. Bro, what did you think of this squash match?
Well, as I've said, bro, I mean, the subtle, gradual building of dissension between MJF and Wardlow in the background of all of these major events happening has been one of the best things creatively that AEW has been doing, period, in the company. They have not pushed too fast to split these two apart because they know that they're going to have this huge monster babyface on their hands when they finally do split them apart. They've been very good with that. I want to give credit where credit's due. I also felt like this was one of the first times ever that I've been entertained by what Shawn Spears has done. Like, this is the Shawn Spears I've wanted to see the whole fucking time. And it's like, where has this guy been? To me, like, we knew it was going to be a squash. The FGC, you know, it was fun. I love seeing a big hoss fucking squash the shit out of a smaller guy sometimes. That's fine. Probably a C- for that match. But for me, the big story was Shawn Spears here. Loved the stuff he was doing on the mic, talking like some annoying, sycophantic Hollywood assistant type character. First, he's getting involved in telling Wardlow how he should wrestle his matches, which you got to imagine that would piss any wrestler off. And then he's saying, look, even after you just got that dominant win over an experienced veteran in the industry, your big role tonight is we're going to go and pick up champagne for MJF's celebration, which did not make him happy, especially when he's standing there looking like $1 million, having just had a dominant performance like that. Perfectly done. The actual promo work itself, the storyline work after this squash match is getting a B+. It was really well done.
Yeah. Moving forward, bro, we get a little feud promo here for Ty Conti and Penelope Ford. They look good. They look fucking good, bro. Not really much to add there, is there?
Well, what was good about it, I will say, is I like that they're, first of all, I like the fact that they're doing a gimmick match for the women, a submission match, calling back to Ty Conti's black belt status in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I like the fact that they used her Jiu-Jitsu background in this build-up and then basically just had Penelope Ford, the smarmy heel, just go, I don't care what kind of match it is. I've got my Muda lock. I'm going to whoop your ass, because she's obviously supremely confident. So, yeah, I liked it a lot. I'd give it a B-.
Yep, and look, I'll give credit where credit is due, okay? For 15 weeks, we reviewed AEW, and I made several complaints about the fact that they weren't doing anything with a lot of the women, and there was only ever one fucking storyline going. At least right at this moment in time, I think there's something going on with Britt Baker and Riho, which I've heard is not going so well, because Riho is not in that realm yet to be really a contender, but they're forcing it. But at least there's something going on there. There's a TBS title tournament. Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida are feuding, and now that there's this feud going on right now, which is, I guess, it's been building for quite some time with the Bunny and Penelope against Anna Jay and Ty Conti. So at least there's a bunch of different stories going on at once. So props to you, AEW. Not all of them are firing on all cylinders, but at least something's happening. And, I'm kind of interested to see the submission match, but I probably won't watch it considering what else is happening on Rampage this weekend. Moving forward, bro, Malakai has a vignette. It's always good. It's always good. It was very well shot as well. What did you think?
A-. That's all.
Yep, that's
really
all.
Good. Really
cool,
good.
Bro. Moving forward again, just as I alluded to, what appears to be possibly the feud-ending matchup here. This feud's been going for several months. They've always had good matches together. Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida, the former women's champion. What did you think of this one?
Honestly, bro, I thought this match was an excellent match in a vacuum, but I found myself just being so worn out and tired from the earlier title match that it was just it was hard for me to stay fully invested. Having said that, by the time we got to the end, they actually managed to kind of summon a second wind in me and get me excited once they started exchanging all those pinfalls and the reversals started heating up and the frequency of counters started, ramping up. They really pulled me into it by the end. I'm going to give it a B+ overall. I still think Serena Deeb is one of the most underappreciated female talents in the industry today. And I think Hikaru Shida continues to prove that she's a bit of a well-kept secret within the wrestling industry. She's a bit of a sleeper. I'm sure a lot of people do appreciate her. I'm sure she has her fans. But it definitely feels like her talent is kind of underappreciated a little bit within AEW because I think she's fantastic. I could see her functioning within WWE easily, and that is, I think if there's a female performer out there that could easily fit onto either show, I think that's normally a sign that they know what the fuck they're doing.
Exactly, bro. And there was a big space of time there when we were reviewing this show every week where, a lot of the ladies' matches, a lot of the ladies were having a hard time having good matches, like a Red Velvet, etc. So I remember Shida hadn't been on the show for at least fucking 10 weeks or something like that. And when I saw those two wrestle the previous match that we saw on Dynamite and it stole the show, I was like, where has she been? I know Deeb was injured, but where has Shida been? You need someone who's this good in the ring more often on the show. So good to see them to go out there, have another great match, great story that was told. Didn't steal the show this time, but that's okay. You can't do it every time.
It would have been difficult anyway with the title match.
Definitely. Hard to follow a match like that because it's just so exhausting. Moving forward, bro. Tony Schiavone with the Varsity Blondes backstage for this interview. Malakai's gone from this thing with Cody and now he's working with the Varsity Blondes who disappeared for a few weeks there. We haven't watched the last month, so they've probably brought them back to TV or whatever. And no, we haven't kept up with the results because I read the results of the first Dynamite after Full Gear and I got even more pissed off. So I told myself I'm not reading results anymore either. What did you think of this, bro?
This was shit. It was, I feel bad about saying that. I like the Varsity Blondes. I thought the whole thing of Griff Garrison weirdly fucking getting angry at Brian Pillman Jr. because Brian Pillman was just how about you don't be a fucking idiot and start biting off more than you can chew and let's focus on sticking strong together as a unit for Julia. And then he goes, oh no, fuck that, and wants to be a big hero and protect the girl. Too soon to be having dissension between these guys. They haven't even won the tag team titles yet, for fuck's sake. And yet they're already sort of building that they're not getting along right now. It's the wrong person, like I said earlier, in Griff Garrison, to be taking up the honor of Julia Hart. It definitely should be Brian Pillman Jr. that's in that role. If they are going to do it at all, it should be Brian Pillman Jr. in that spot. He's the star, the future star right now, not Griff Garrison. I'm not saying that status isn't going to change for Griff Garrison. He could definitely be a future star someday. He's a good-looking kid, clearly a good athlete. I did feel like he came across articulate in what he said even if I didn't really like the promo overall. I'm going to give the promo a D+, because like I said, there are some positives that can be taken away from Griff Garrison, but this is not the right time to be doing this, and it's not really welcome on my TV screen from my perspective as a fan.
Yeah, I get you, man. I kind of feel like it's also good in a way, though, that Malachi Black can be such a fucking menace and such a poison. Like I've always said, he should be this poison that whatever he touches and whoever he gets involved with, it affects them moving forward. So I do kind of like it in that sense.
I sort of see that, yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm not sure if the time's right for them right now. But, there can be dissension. There can be problems caused by Malachi. Once the feud is over and the dissension's still there, they can try and repair what they had. And that might be an interesting story going forward if the person writing the show is capable of coming up with an emotional story like that and not just once the feud's over, then they're off TV for a few weeks, which we've seen happen many times. We get some hype for Hook after his big debut on Rampage, which everyone's been fucking just jacking their fucking dick over. I saw some of it. It was good. He needs work, though. Everyone needs to stop overselling this and making it difficult for him going forward, because he's not the next big thing yet. Give him some time. He's got a lot of potential. But one thing I did say to you whilst we were watching this was that Disco Inferno, I thought that this was important to bring up. He had an idea, and that idea was that you want to bring in female viewers. Feud Hook with Jungle Boy over Anna Jay for a few months. Do a kind of Melrose Place kind of style story with them. Different flavors. Again, yes, you can have your 60-minute Broadways. You can have your multi-man, whatever bullshit that some people seem to like. But you can also do a little bit of a soap opera thing here and there. It's not going to hurt. But again, you need the correct person to be able to write the story and know how to place the nuances and the swerves, I suppose you could say, within that story. You could also involve Ty Conti in the story as well, which could lead to dissension with Anna Jay and Ty Conti if Anna doesn't end up with Hook, but then Hook manages to sink his fingers into Tay Conti's heart and pull those heartstrings, and then you never know. It could be interesting. Who knows? But that was just something that I thought was interesting. Mm-hmm. Let's move forward, bro. Eddie Kingston with a promo on Daniel Garcia and 2.0. And it leads to him saying we're going to have a 10-man tag team match at Rampage. Yuck. Fucking, they already got a fucking 8-man tag on the show. We need a 10-man as well. I ain't watching that shit.
I don't give a shit. I love Eddie Kingston, but honestly, a big part of the reason we decided to ditch these reviews on a weekly basis was because of the way they fucked Kingston over as a character. They're still doing it now. We tune in a month later and they've still got fucking Kingston relegated to working with 2.0 and Garcia, and it's nothing against them, but he's in that upper echelon. They need to start using him that way. He's like, I'm not making a direct comparison here, man, but Eddie Kingston is AEW's Mick Foley, bro. He is their everyman. He's their average Joe. He's their neighborhood wrestler that people could imagine, like, oh, I've met guys like that growing up. I know somebody like that. There's a guy who lives down my street that Eddie Kingston reminds me of. He could be a relative of yours, a wacky cousin of yours somewhere. There's that relatability, that everyman quality that they're just not fucking capitalizing on, man. And just the same with Mick Foley, man. That he's tough as nails. There's nothing he won't do. There's nothing he won't put his body through. He's incredible on the fucking microphone. You end up being entranced, like you're watching a great monologue from an actor in an award-winning movie or something. You end up being just entranced and absorbed in what he's saying and stuff like that. Just the same as Mick Foley. very different performers in the sense that, yes, they're both brawlers, they're both hardcore guys, they're both not body guys. So yes, the commonalities are endless. They're different in terms of the overall presentation in the ring, but it's the exact same dynamic connection with the fans where they believe that they know this guy. They believe that they have met this guy. They believe that they understand this guy in Eddie Kingston. Exactly the same way that the WWF audience eventually connected with Mick Foley when he got signed by them. It is a fucking travesty, man. An absolute fucking travesty that Eddie Kingston is being forced to ply his trade and his craft and his magic to such just stuff that's beneath him as a character. I feel like he's proved himself 10 fucking times over by now. And I'm just not going to have any sympathy or any interest in watching them fucking toil Eddie Kingston's prime years of his career away in the fucking mid-card like this.
Yeah, bro. How many, like, it had to be like 18 weeks ago or something like that, where Kingston and Moxley were dealing with Garcia in 2.0. And after that was done, I think Garcia had one match with Punk, but other than that, you know, Garcia in 2.0 were off TV for 10 weeks. You know, after all the hijinks and shenanigans that they were getting up to, being a menace on the show, attacking people left, right, and center, fucking around with Darby and Sting, and then all of a sudden they're off TV for like fucking 10 weeks or something like that. Just goes to show that Tony isn't really good at, you know, following up on things. But Kingston should be the TNT champion right now. Sammy Guevara, who thankfully was not on this show, just like Cody, thankfully he wasn't on the show, doesn't need the fucking TNT title. Kingston would have done more with it at this point. Anyway, let's move forward to our main event. We're getting to the tail end here, bro. MJF taking on Dante Martin for the ring. I'm just going to run through my notes here. The promo was fantastic, as usual, as fucking usual, MJF. The call he made on Punk having underwhelming opponents, why would that make you a contender? It's so fucking true. We all know Punk's beating Lee Moriarty. We all know Punk's beating fucking Powerhouse Hobbs and all of these guys that they've put him with. Still, at this point in time, how many fucking weeks has it been again that they've had Punk there and he's done nothing important except for one promo with Eddie Kingston? And I guess the match with Darby was cool.
That was, I thought that was good, man. That was an A-grade match for me. I like that. Of
course. And the Kingston thing should still be going right now. He's feuding with MJF now.
They barely scratched the surface. I'm sorry. I don't want to start it up again. Go ahead.
No, they did barely scratch the surface of what that could have been. Now he's feuding with MJF, which I'm sure is going to be some excellent stuff going forward. But it's taken too long to get us to a point where something interesting is going on with him.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Ryback diss was fantastic. What a fucking great person to bring up. Another comment I wanted to make. The commentators get to have fun. And I like the dynamic of Taz being there. I honestly think it should be JR, Tony, and Taz. That's just me. You know, nothing too much against Excalibur, but
Taz and Excalibur in their own right, bro, they do Dark and Elevation. They're very funny. Like on Botchamania, there's literally a segment each week on Botchamania now, or each episode that's just devoted to them two fucking around on Dark and Elevation. It's quite funny. So I wanted to throw that out there. Little credit to Excalibur. He does work well in the two-person team with Taz. I do like that announced team, but I fully agree with you, man. I could really get behind Taz, Tony, and Jim Ross.
Yeah, or just like Taz just needs to be there more often. You know, it's unfortunate Jim has to take time off for what he's going through, but
and we wish him the best as well. Love you, Jim.
Definitely. Sassafras. So anyway, the match. Some impressive dives from Dante as usual. We both did like the story of MJF kept on powdering to the outside, only to be caught with another fucking dive. Unfortunately, he overshot the shooting star. And I think this is situations where they need to the younger guys need to learn how to pivot. He should have sold the fact that he pretty much took the brunt of that bump on his own.
Yeah, it would have made it look cooler if he'd have kind of been clutching his ribs after that. Like, maybe that was a mistake.
Instead, he just kind of hopped up and got back in the ring. That's okay. Yeah. It's just a nitpick.
He's learning.
Yeah. Taz is telling the story beautifully on commentary. Now, apparently, he was never really interested in Dante in the first place. Hilarious stuff. Tony calling him out on it. Ricky Starks.
Bro, my God.
Bro.
That too.
Ricky Starks getting involved. Obviously, that made sense with the Team Taz story going on right now.
Mm-hmm.
Thank fuck MJF won this match. I was really concerned that they were going to have Dante go over. 3 years in a row, he's got that diamond ring. Good stuff. Attack after the match from Sting and Darby. Thank God they're following up on that a little bit more. I was really concerned that they were going to forget the fact that Sting and Darby kind of got fucked over at Full Gear. Punk makes the save, and, the big 6-man set up for next week, which I'd be interested in watching, but I don't want to watch anything else on the show.
Yeah, we might just watch just that.
What did you think, bro, of the main event?
Obviously, I've made it known that I'm a huge fan of MJF and Dante Martin. They're both two guys that pretty much never disappoint me when I see them on TV. I love the fact that I'm getting to see them work together in an important match like this. MJF's promo, as you said, A+ work, another tremendous promo from him. I think that MJF needs to win this Dynamite ring for the first 5 years of its existence, and then finally have someone win against him in a big upset. That would be a great moment for somebody down the line. But perfect timing. Definitely the right move to have MJF win here. It's not time for Dante as much as I love him. More of Dante's exquisite athleticism, his incredible vertical leap, his the way that he actually uses the apparatus of the ring and sort of finds different situations and positions to use his body as a weapon in conjunction with the ropes. The last time I saw a high flyer that I thought had that kind of gift, it would have been somebody like John Morrison. And before that, it would have been going all the way back to Rob Van Dam. Yeah. Maybe somebody like Jeff Hardy had occasions where the same sort of innovation was kind of like striking me. But yeah, other than those few guys, Dante is the newest wrestler to sort of wow me in that way as a performer. And I love the fact that he's carving out his niche as that kind of performer that because I remember from going to live wrestling shows with my father, who's not a giant wrestling fan. The stuff that always impresses my dad as a wrestling fan is either a big hoss fight where it feels like it's two big bulls going at it, or an athlete in the ring that can do things nobody else can do in that ring. Mikey Nichols from EPW is an example of someone that he thought stood out. Another person he thought stood out at a live WWE show, a guy like Rey Mysterio. People that are just absolutely unique in what they can do. I believe that has an important role on a wrestling show in terms of drawing in casual fans. And I believe that that is a niche that needs to be filled by a young performer for any promotion that's still in the building stage of its life, which AEW still is. But love the story that was being told with the exchange of headlock takeovers and the callback to that whole thing that MJF has done, winning 2 matches unfairly, I might add, with the headlock takeover. Ultimately, what it boiled down to was 2 of the young guns in All Elite Wrestling competing for this prestigious prize. MJF, in his case, he wants to build on that legacy that he's already establishing. Dante Martin, on the other hand, he wants to begin building a legacy for himself. Great story. The right person won. I'd give this an A-. I thought it was pretty tremendous. The fact that it managed to kind of get me invested at all, because at first I was kind of still a bit bored with it after the slog that was getting through that opening match. The fact that it was able to do that and turn me around, once again, another testament to the talent of MJF. And once again, another example of the same performers always standing out as bright spots on the show compared to some of the crappier stuff we also see on AEW.
Yeah, good call, Brian. It's funny that you mentioned like what impressed like your dad. Just a short sidebar, like my mum, when she saw Billy Kidman versus Rey Mysterio on like Nitro or whatever, she was like, wow. And I remember like years later when Kidman was in WWE and he put on a bit of muscle, and it was a match on SmackDown or whatever, and she was at my uncle and auntie's house, and for whatever reason, I guess Fox 8 was on, and SmackDown came on, Kidman came out, and my mum said, oh, you've got to check this guy out. He's brilliant. He's brilliant. And it wasn't the same because he wasn't against Ray and he was a bit bigger and he wasn't, as crazy and athletic as he once was.
He was still great though, man.
He was still good, but it wasn't like the Kidman of WCW at that point. And for my dad, he loved Vince McMahon. But anyway, bro, 33 days we've been without AEW. I hated Full Gear with all of my heart. After that break, it's been nice. Time to give us your final rating and thoughts and your rating out of 10.
I thought this was a decent episode. Definitely better, than the one that we saw before we took our sabbatical from AEW. I'm going to give this final rating a 7.5 out of 10. I know that I'm prone to giving quite high ratings, but the fact that this didn't fucking piss me off alone already puts it at about a 5. And I felt like there were several things from MJF, Dante, Shawn Spears, the opening title match that kind of pushed this up to be better than possible for me. So 7.5, that's what I'm going with.
Excellent, bro. I'm giving it a 6.5 out of 10. Did like the title match. Did like the main event. Did like Serena and Shida. But I did feel later on, I was like, I can't wait for this episode to finally be over. It's kind of hard to stay emotionally invested in the rest of the show after such a big match to open it. But, nothing offensive, nothing upset me. No Sammy Guevara on the show, no Cody on the show. That's already a massive win for me. So 6.5 will be my final score. Juicy Boy, let everyone out there know where to find you.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. You can search it in and like the page, Juicy Boy, all one word. I'm on Twitch at Juicy Boy. Still trying to get to affiliate. Follow me on there. I'm doing some fun shit over there. YouTube, subscribe, user.com/juicyboy. Of course, I'm on Twitter. Follow me on there. Send your hate tweets if you disagree with what I've said in this review at Juicy Boy. I love a good fucking debate with fellow wrestling fans. You're more than welcome there. You will not get abused for having a difference of opinion. Despite the fact that we do a lot of swearing on here, we actually do enjoy a good conversation about wrestling with our fellow fans. Follow me on there. Join the conversation. And just in case you didn't know which word you're typing in so that you can follow all that fucking
Get it right this
social
time.
Media content, the spelling once again is JOOSEYBOY. That's Juicy Boy. And I'll fucking see you on social media.
Find me on Twitter at Karlifornia, WZWA, KARLIFORNIA, WZWA. WZWA Network. Just search it anywhere on any platform. You will find us. Follow us. We've got heaps of good shit going down. And of course, once again, IRC chats, the old IRC. Remember that? Remember that from back in the day?
No.
If you go to the Ryzen Network, RIZON, the Ryzen Network, and go into the chat room, #wrestling, a good bunch of people in there to talk to about wrestling. Juicy
you might
Boy,
even say it's the Terror Ryzen Network.
Go fuck yourself. Juicy Boy, thank you very much for joining me here today for this review.
No worries, dickwad.
Fuck you, cunt. And thank you, everyone out there, for joining us here for the AEW Dynamite. Winter is Coming review. I'm Karlifornia alongside Jooseyboy. When you see you down the road.